All right, we will get things underway. Welcome everyone to the February monthly ESO webinar. I'm Lisa Bajornis, and to let you know, effective tomorrow, I am full-time joining KSTC as the Executive Director of the Kentucky Innovation Hubs. It's my pleasure to host you this morning for this monthly webinar. And really the purpose of these is to encourage and invite the entire statewide entrepreneurial ecosystem to come together on the third Tuesday of each month at 10 in the morning so that we can provide some good programming resources for you as hub leaders, as hub team members, as startups, as investors, as members of the Coalition on Small Business Innovation and Entrepreneurship come together each month to learn more about what's available and what's happening across the state in support of innovation and entrepreneurship. So I welcome all of you to this month's webinar. And as we do, I'd like for you to know that you are very much welcome to invite anyone within your regions and your areas to join us each month. We look forward to having everyone participate. With that, our agenda today, we'll start off as we do with Tony Ellis, who will kind of give us a state of innovation update for the state. And then I'm very excited to have Jake Budler with us today as our program speaker. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tony.
Thank you, Lisa. And good morning, everybody. Happy February. I think I know pretty much everyone on this call, but my name is Anthony Ellis. I'm the Executive Director of KY Innovation, which is the state entity within the cabinet that is responsible for funding and supporting our entrepreneurial support efforts and coordinating our state strategy across different partners. As Lisa said, we're very happy to have you here. This call is really about making sure that we can connect with the entire entrepreneurial ecosystem and support system so that we can all be aligned on both what's happening and also make sure everybody's aware of upcoming deadlines or any big things that happened this past month. So, like so many of our calls, I'd like to begin by outlining the positives and wins that we can all be proud of over the past month. The first big one is we have filed Kentucky's SSBCI 2.0 application. So what does that mean? Kentucky was allocated $117 million as part of the federal which is State Small Business Credit Initiative program. It's a repeat of a program that launched in 2010. It has a number of different components. In 2010, Kentucky did not use any of the funds that we received for our venture capital investing. We are very excited to announce that in this funding round, we've asked to have 70% of our funds allocated towards venture capital investing. So that's $81 million to the Kentucky venture community and our entrepreneurial community spread out over the next 10 years. It comes in 3 tranches, with the first tranche expected to arrive this year in the amount of $27 million. And it has to be spent, 80% of the funds have to be spent within 3 years of basically getting the money. So we really anticipate deploying these funds rapidly after we get them. Most of this program is going to be administered by KSTC. Kelby Price and the KSTC Venture Finance Group. So we're really going to be spending the next few months working on the details of the programs and the logistics of how we'll deploy the money and how we can apply for it. Second big thing we can be excited about, we had a chance to gather in Louisville for KY Inno's first Startups to Watch, where we had an opportunity to celebrate 22 fast-growing startups in the Louisville region. I know many of you were there. These types of celebrations are key to telling our story and highlighting the good things that are happening here. As we said during the event, while it was focused predominantly on the Louisville region, we see similar success stories across Kentucky. Third thing, we were able to announce a new investment from 80 Acres in Northern Kentucky. 80 Acres is a longtime startup in the Cincinnati region. This is their first investment into Kentucky and also reflects their own view that Kentucky, and particularly Northern Kentucky, has a real growth opportunity for the startup community. There are programs like this for all of our growing startups within the community, investment incentive programs within the Cabinet for Economic Development that can support them hiring new employees, leasing a new large facility, buying a building and expanding their operations. So there are a lot of different opportunities. If you know of a company that's in that category, please make sure they reach out early in the process. The earlier, the better. Funding. Kef Funds. Our applications are now open for the Kentucky Enterprise Fund's next round of investments. Investments range from $5,000 grants up to $250,000 or more equity investments. That's Kelby Price and the KSTC team. If you don't know Kelby, please reach out and make sure you make a connection. And Candace, who's also on this call, they've done a great job really building up the Kentucky Enterprise Fund over the past 2 years, putting a new structure around it, really making the application process open and making sure that we have a better understanding of how we're deploying our capital and the return on that investment and impact, so that we can better tell different people, particularly in the legislature, why this is a wise investment of state dollars. And also KSTC launched a new SBIR micro grant program in coordination with the cabinet. That is a program that provides small dollar grants to entities and businesses that are considering applying for an SBIR, STTR research grant with the federal government. We've had a lot of success with these grants. This is another element of support for our entrepreneurs within that. It's non-dilutive grant funding and really can help them hire a lawyer, develop a prototype, or a lot of different opportunities. So reach out to KSTC. Maria or Christine McNeil is on this call, can help make sure you get in touch with the right people and make sure you get an opportunity to submit your application. Now, lastly, we need you to help spread the good news about our ecosystem, and we need your stories. So each week, the hubs send an update to Lisa that we prepare and provide to the governor. So every single week, the governor wants to know what's happening in the innovation ecosystem, from successes of our businesses to new programs that are launched, to new initiatives that we are about to launch, to application deadlines. We summarize this, and he reads it every single week because he follows up with questions. So if you have things that you want to be on that report, either give them to your regional hub leaders or make sure they go to Lisa so that they can get rolled up into our report. So legislative update. We are now fully in session. The legislative session started on January 4th. It runs through April 15th. We are now at the halfway point. There is approximately 29 days left. As I mentioned at the last call, there were 3 cryptocurrency and blockchain bills that have been filed by Senator Smith. They've not yet moved, doesn't mean they won't move. If you want more information about them, or you want to know who your legislators are to contact, give us a call. We think they're a good step towards supporting our growing fintech, blockchain, and cryptocurrency ecosystem and the progress that we've made there. They're very similar to bills that Wyoming passed a few years ago. We've looked at all those bills, and these are the first 3 that we really think have a shot of getting passed within the legislature. On top of that, the budget has now passed the House. It's moving through the Senate. Our funding for innovation and entrepreneurship is roughly the same as it was last year. So between that funding and the money we expect to see from SSBCI, we think there's a real opportunity for hypergrowth within Kentucky's entrepreneurial ecosystem over the next 3 to 10 years, really. Now, jobs. Lisa mentioned at the top of this that she's been promoted. She has been. We are very excited to have her in the role as Executive Director of the Kentucky Innovation Hubs program. We have a few direct-facing entrepreneurial support programs: Kentucky Commercialization Ventures, our funding sources, and the hubs. Lisa being the Executive Director of the Hubs program really means that she's going to be able to move that program forward. She's been a longtime supporter and involved in the entrepreneurial ecosystem. She has a deep passion for it. And in our own internal experience of working with her, we know she's going to do an excellent job. And we are continuing the process to find a deputy director for KY Innovation, which is the overall ecosystem. That search is coming to fruition, I think, soon, and we'll keep you in the loop. Great. And with that, I will turn it over to Lisa and the team. And we look forward to a great presentation this morning, or a couple presentations.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Tony. Very exciting, particularly in terms of all of the opportunity around future investment in the not so distant future in startups through SSBCI. And we certainly look forward to continuing updates in that regard. Thanks so much. All right. It is now my pleasure to introduce for you our program speaker. And so we have Jake Budler with the Endeavor ScaleUp program. Let me just change this here. And while I'm introducing Jake, I'll have Jake go ahead and pull up his slides. So Jake works with high growth entrepreneurs who share Endeavor's mission, which is scale up, go big, and give back. And Endeavor, if you're not familiar, is the world's leading community of high impact entrepreneurs. They believe the power of entrepreneurship to create meaningful jobs and drive economies forward is the recipe to growth. Jake specifically supports high growth entrepreneurs in Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio by connecting them to Endeavor's global services. And those services are markets, capital, and talent, as well as mentors. And in 2019, Jake launched Endeavor's ScaleUp program here through Endeavor Midwest for our region to take advantage of, particularly for the early stage, very promising high growth entrepreneurs in each of your regions. So with that, I am very happy to turn this over to Jake, who's going to talk to us about the ScaleUp program. Jake?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Lisa. Let me share my screen briefly. There we are. Perfect. All right. Can everyone see my screen? Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for the introduction, Lisa, and for having me. I really appreciate it. Excited to share with everyone here this morning a little bit more about Endeavor, but specifically the ScaleUp program. So I will try to keep this brief and quickly just give an overview of Endeavor. So thank you for the introduction and overview. Just some quick background on Endeavor globally before I really dive into the ScaleUp program that we run here locally. So Endeavor, we are the leading community of global entrepreneurs and high impact entrepreneurs around the world. Why we do it is to inspire and support the fastest growing entrepreneurs who really have the ability to make the biggest impact. And we really like to see entrepreneurs that scale up, that go big, and then also, of course, give back. That's a big part of Endeavor, is reinvesting into local economies and communities and kind of the next generation of entrepreneurs. Just a quick snapshot of the entrepreneurs that we support around the world. So over the last 25 years, so Endeavor was founded in 1997. We've selected just over, it's close to 2,200 entrepreneurs now in about 40 countries. And those entrepreneurs in 2019 generated about almost $29 billion in revenue, which is a massive revenue number. But really, for me, kind of the most important part is the job creation number. So almost 4 million jobs created by Endeavor entrepreneurs is incredibly impactful to the economies and the regions that we work in around the world. So let me dive into the ScaleUp program. So quick background to ScaleUp. Actually, we go to the next slide here. And what it is, kind of the behind the scenes of ScaleUp. If you kind of look at those numbers of the entrepreneurs that Endeavor supports in our global network, it's about $29 billion revenue. It's about 1,500 companies. So those companies on average are $15 to $20 million a year companies. Averages don't tell the full story. Obviously, there's some outliers, later stage companies that pulls that up. The median is a little bit closer to about $10 million a year companies that are supported through our global network. So our regional office, as you mentioned, is actually headquartered in Louisville. I'm based in Indianapolis. We have Tim Barr, my colleague, in Cincinnati. So those are the three cities that we're kind of physically in, and then of course working across Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio. And what we saw kind of leading into 2019 when we launched ScaleUp is that there are phenomenal entrepreneurial ecosystems. There's great early stage programs and accelerators and university systems that are spinning up startups and doing a phenomenal job there. And then where Endeavor sits in our global network is growth stage, is a little bit later stage, high growth companies that are $5 to $10+ million a year. And in the middle are tons of founders that are hitting some growth, have a product in market, are generating revenue, are starting to hire. They're not startups in the garage anymore. They're full-on companies. But for Endeavor, we're a little bit early stage, and we kind of saw that as an opportunity to leverage our regional network to support slightly earlier stage companies and founders, and really to help bring them under the Endeavor banner and kind of get them introduced to our network before they're ready for that global, the global network. So that's kind of really just the behind the scenes background of why we started ScaleUp. So we launched in 2019. We look at it as a growth accelerator and really focused around building a strong network, providing strategic mentoring, providing support around capital raising and investor introductions to really help those entrepreneurs kind of get to that global stage for us, where we can then kind of put them through the process to join our global network. So we partner with Ernst & Young. EY is obviously a leading global financial firm to support scale-up entrepreneurs. We actually have 25 ScaleUp programs around the world. So Endeavor operates in about 40 countries. So not every Endeavor market or office have a ScaleUp program. We were actually one of the first ones to launch in the United States. And we've supported 25 companies regionally in the last 3 years through our ScaleUp program. So really just a quick overview of what the program is. So we're running 2 cohorts a year, really roughly first half of the year, second half of the year, kind of working very hands-on with entrepreneurs. So at most in one of those cohorts, we'll work with 4 entrepreneurs at a time. Excuse me, 4 companies. Sometimes there's co-founders, so maybe, a little bit more, a few more entrepreneurs, but 4 companies at most at a time per cohort. And the kind of core of the program, again, is really focused on connecting earlier stage entrepreneurs into our regional network. So we focus on kind of curating and making strategic introductions and mentoring through endeavors, currently selected entrepreneurs and our board members, and then kind of our regional network of mentors as well. EY supports by actually giving a dedicated financial review to every company that participates in ScaleUp. So that really EY is able to bring their global, their leading network of financial expertise and work one-on-one directly with each ScaleUp company. We launched the program with a workshop around product market fit, but really even more specifically around kind of working on ideal customer profiles for the stage of business that ScaleUp companies are. ICP is something that really develops over time as companies continue to grow. So we hone in on that with GrowthX, which is a San Francisco and Nashville based both venture capital fund and also kind of expertise in product market fit. We also run an acceleration panel, which is actually based on the panels that we run. We run selection panels to join the global network, and we use that same format to end the ScaleUp program as the acceleration panel. And rather than something like a demo day, which can be great and is great, earlier stage pitch practice, building a network, that format's great. For ScaleUp, we use this panel where it's 6 to 8 panelists that really dive into each company at a super deep level and really drives relationship building at kind of a deeper level through Endeavor. And then we do a couple different workshops, which change and depend on the cohort. We kind of build out the workshops based on the companies that we're working with at a time. But one thing that we do pretty consistently is a behind the scenes venture capital pitch, which is essentially we replicate an entrepreneur pitching to a couple of venture capitalists, but we have the VCs, the investors, give real-time feedback and share kind of the why behind what they're thinking. We find this a really strong format for earlier stage companies that haven't raised a ton of money from investors before to understand the why and the background to what investors are thinking. That's often kind of an opaque process, and it's tough to kind of align between entrepreneurs and investors. So we use that format, the behind the scenes VC panel. And then along with that, if you're raising money and you go through ScaleUp, we help provide mentoring around capital raise, investor introductions, and pitch practice, things like that. We go to the next slide. So who we're looking to select for ScaleUp. So the selection criteria we look at, entrepreneur, business, and timing, is the same as we look at for Endeavor's global network. The details just change a little bit. So obviously we're looking for high growth companies with the potential to become the next several $100 million, billion-dollar unicorn company and be the next strong scale-up company that reinvests in the network. Obviously this is very early stage. So we're looking for post-revenue companies. We're industry agnostic, so it can be in any industry, but really looking for companies that are close to or at kind of the $1 million a year in annual revenue, kind of $1 to $3 million a year is the range we really look at for ScaleUp. And then for the founders, right, we're looking for founders that are interested in going big, paying forward, giving back, and then, interested in connecting and building their network and are willing to grow and take advice. Some kind of key indicators for scale-up companies, it's typically 5 to 20 employees, 50 to 100% a year kind of annual growth rate, so high growth. For companies that are raising venture capital money, so if they're going down that, they're a venture capital type business, if they've raised at least $500,000 to $1 million in kind of early money, or looking to raise around from kind of 1 to 3 million as well, that's a good fit for ScaleUp. And then often, not all the time, but very often we're working with first-time founders. If you are a founder who has scaled and exited a business for $1 billion before, that's fantastic. If you're doing it again, amazing. But through ScaleUp, probably what we found don't need the network building that ScaleUp offers. Go to my next slide here. So just kind of the details and logistics. So we have an application that is open all the time. So we really work hands-on with founders to get information, dive in with them. We'll have a couple of conversations and really figure out if the scale program is a good fit. And then if so, what timing is right. So which cohort in which year would be the best fit for them, kind of based on the criteria that we're looking at. There's a $3,000 cost for the program. So it's a flat fee per company. We don't take any equity. It's not based on the number of entrepreneurs. It's just per company. You know, a lot of many companies are hybrid or virtual, or, you know, it's a mix right now. So we're really just looking for companies that are based in Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, or have very strong ties. You know, down the line, when they do scale up and exit, we want them to be reinvesting kind of across the 3 states that we work in. And then, you know, the program itself, much of it is virtual. As much as we can, we do a couple of things in person. But at this point, you know, for companies and founders, time is really critical. So we don't ask for a lot of driving around the region and getting together in person, right? We want to make that kind of few and far between and really valuable when we do things in person. Quick highlights on the program over the last couple of years. A couple of companies you can see here that have been in the program. Good Maps just finished the program last year. Native as well as in Cincinnati. A couple of cool stories. So Costello was an Indianapolis-based company that did scale up in 2019 that actually exited and sold to SalesLoft. It's an Atlanta-based company that's now $1 billion valuation. Is actually an Endeavor global company that bought Costello. Go Wild is based in Kentucky. Just closed some fundraising, $2.5 million last year, and are continuing to grow. So you know, it's a variety of companies across the region, you know, across the 3 states. But this kind of gives you a good idea of who's done the program and kind of what stage company is a good fit. And then just a quick snapshot of last year, of 2021. You know, 50 hours plus of direct kind of one-on-one strategic mentoring that we set up through ScaleUp. Made about 30 different commercial and investor introductions for the ScaleUp companies. So we really focus on working hands-on. So I run the program along with Tim, who's in Cincinnati. You know, each company that goes through ScaleUp, we develop a curated roadmap for each company based on their challenges, their needs, their industry, their stage, and then we'll run them through and work hands-on, kind of one-on-one with each company as we go. So it's very individual, very curated, and hopefully super valuable for the companies that go through ScaleUp. And I will stop there. I know that I went through that pretty quick, but I want to make sure that we have time to chat and see if there's any questions.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Jake. Appreciate that overview for everyone. And again, I'll just mention anybody with questions, go ahead and just type them into the chat. I do have one, Jake. I'm just very curious.
Absolutely.
How does the pipeline look of companies that have expressed interest or been referred to ScaleUp from the Kentucky area?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great. It's a great pipeline. You know, I think that you know, we're as a region, we're continuing to build kind of that seed and earlier stage ecosystems around investors, you know, support organizations. There's not a lack of founders, right? I mean, that's why we launched the program in 2019, is that we're actually, as a team, we're spending a lot of time talking to companies that were at this stage, you know, that kind of $1 to $3 million, building out their teams, 10, 15 employees. Spent a lot of time talking to those founders, and you know, at that point it was, great, you're awesome, keep going, come talk to us in a year or 2 years. You know, you're not at the point where we can really support you on the global side. So that's why, I mean, we just saw the demand anecdotally as our team, and that was kind of one of the reasons to launch ScaleUp. So there's not, you know, since then there's not been fewer companies. You know, we say this as a team a lot. There's not going to be less entrepreneurs in the Midwest and in Kentucky and across Indiana and Ohio than there's, you know, now, and that's true a year ago and 2 years ago, and that's going to be true in another year.
Wonderful, good. It seems as though you've answered, I think, most everyone's questions that they have. What's the best way for any of our hub leadership to make those referrals or warm introductions to you?
Absolutely. One, an introduction always works.
Yep.
I'll share my email and then our team as well. And we, not always, we roughly break it up by state. So Ray Shell is my colleague in Louisville and covers Kentucky. Tim is in Cincinnati, covers Ohio, and then I'm obviously in Indianapolis to cover Indiana. So we roughly break it up like that. But as for ScaleUp, I mean, I've launched and run the program, so I'll take all those introductions. And then I'll also share this deck as well if anyone's interested in reviewing, and the application link on there is a great place to start. It takes 10 or 15 minutes for a founder to submit. It's open all the time, anytime. And we really, again, kind of even through selecting companies for ScaleUp, you know, we've never selected a company for ScaleUp that we haven't talked to 2 or 3 times at least. Okay. Just to figure out, you know, if it's a good fit, to learn more about them, for them to learn about Endeavor, to figure out timing. So even selecting companies for ScaleUp is very hands-on, and we often provide support before they do the program. So long answer to say, email me, find me on LinkedIn, or send that application link, and it's basic information, a deck, value proposition. What is the company? What do you do? And who does it help?
Okay. And last question I'll ask you, is it a requirement, or do you give heavy consideration to maybe companies who have gone through an accelerator, a pre-accelerator, have won a pitch competition? Is that something you take into consideration? Is it a requirement? Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. It's not a requirement. I think that going through accelerators and winning pitch competitions is great proof of concept for companies. So that definitely adds to the momentum. It adds to your company often, but it's not a requirement. We've seen even in the region, there's companies that pop up that we had no idea existed in Louisville or in any of the states we work in. So that does happen, and there's still some amazing businesses and founders that don't engage or haven't engaged. Maybe they don't know who's out there or what was available at an early stage. But certainly, if you go through those, that's fantastic.
Great. All right. Jake, thank you so much for your time. I know that you are hot off of an airplane, I think on Sunday, coming back from your home, South Africa. So I appreciate you being back in the States and getting back to the work that you love. Your passion certainly comes through, and we very much look forward to doing our best to continue to add more to your pipeline for consideration. So thanks so much for bringing the ScaleUp program to Kentucky, for sure.
No, thank you. Thanks for having me. Glad to be back in my second home, although it's a little bit colder. It was a bit warmer in
I bet.
last week, but thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks so much. All right. With that, I'm going to let Sabrina Mcquarter go ahead and pull up her slides. Most of you are very familiar with Sabrina. She's manager of business and innovation for SOAR, our easternmost innovation hub. And coming off of the great success of the SOAR Summit, she's going to talk a little bit about the upcoming mini summit that they are planning very quickly. That is presented by Kentucky Power, coming up March 7th and 8th. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sabrina.
Good morning, Lisa. I'm trying to get my screen shared here for you. Just let me know when you can see that full screen. All good?
Yep, good.
Perfect. Awesome. So as Lisa mentioned, my name is Sabrina Mcquarter. I am the manager of business and innovation at SOAR. We're shaping our Appalachian region. And I'm really excited to tell you all about our upcoming event today, our SOAR Mini Summit. So our SOAR Mini Summit is happening March 7th and 8th in Ashland, Kentucky. And our focus for this event is downtown tourism and revitalization. So we have a jam-packed agenda, 2 days worth for you, and we're really excited. So day one, we have 2 sessions for you. The first covers the AML Economic Revitalization Grants that will provide an overview of the program and best practices to apply with real-life examples. And then the second session will be from Kentucky Small Business Development Center Creative Economy and Tourism Team, that's a mouthful, showcasing the work that they're doing across the Commonwealth to support tourism-centered small businesses. So we're really excited about those 2 sessions. And then for the evening, we have a great opportunity to network at the SOAR Mini Summit welcome reception before heading over to the Paramount Arts Center for a country music tribute show. And I have to say, and it's, a little cheesy, but it would break our achy breaky hearts if you didn't come, as we raise funds towards the restoration of the iconic Paramount Arts Center marquee. So we are excited to welcome on the second day Jim Host as our keynote speaker. And while he may be known around the globe, we're really proud to know that he calls Ashland and Eastern Kentucky his home. So no mini summit or summit in general would be complete without an incredible lineup of breakout sessions. So to stick with our theme of downtown revitalization and tourism, we've we've tailored our breakout sessions around specific topics to help you launch your community forward. So our friends at Mountain Association will discuss how communities can leverage Airbnb and similar platforms to drive lodging to their towns. We have an amazing panel from across the region on how to position your downtown as a destination spot. And then we'll hear from a panel of experts on how to properly tell your story and message in the digital space, which we've seen over the past, COVID pandemic years, how that can really change the way that people live, work, and travel. Then we'll hear from a local expert, or a panel of local experts, I should say, on how their small towns are making a big impact across the region. And then that afternoon, we will wrap up with the trail tourism. So we're going to be discussing how trails across Kentucky, all the different things that they offer, and hear from folks seeing how these trails drive a lot of tourism into their communities and a lot of revenue into their communities. And finally, we'll hear from some incredible business owners, and this is probably the one I'm most excited about, to see how their businesses have brought tourists not only to their communities, but it's left a wide ripple effect impact as they have noticed in their communities, just the fruition of all the things that are coming from their businesses. So we're really excited for that one. And then, of course, we have to have another networking event. So this is a first for us here. So our innovation team and our partners are doing the first Northeast Kentucky Meetup. This is something that hopefully we'll be doing with all of our other main summit and other mini summits, but this is a great opportunity to network with other young professionals and explore next steps from some of our amazing technical providers and partners. And of course, there will be food. So, you don't want to miss out on that. So registration is still open. We are already close to hitting 500 registrants. I could be totally wrong. We might have already hit that by the time we've done this presentation, but that is more than 45 Kentucky counties and multiple states. So this is turning into not so many of the summit. We're actually really excited for it. It's presented by Kentucky Power, and we welcome you all. Registration is still open. It's on our website. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, and we hope to see you guys there.
All right. Sounds wonderful. Congratulations, especially on all of the work toward getting a great powerhouse of speakers, presenters, workshop providers. Excellent job. We look forward to that. That's coming up early March there, March 7th and 8th in Ashland. Thank you so much, Sabrina, for that update. Now I'll go back to my screen share with you all. And with that, I do have just a quick hub update that was provided in terms of another event. So Grow West over on the other side of the state, Western Kentucky in Paducah, in partnership with Sprocket, is holding their Beer 30 event. So this is a great drink, mingle, and connect event, 5:30. February 24th, hosted at the Sprocket co-working space. And they're going to be talking about all things NFTs, non-fungible tokens, with the very intriguing Rakesh Ramachandran. So you don't want to miss that. If you're in the Paducah Western region, we encourage you to attend on February 24th at 5:30 over at Sprocket for their Beer 30 event. So thank you so much to Monica and the team for hosting that. And just to wrap up today, our next monthly ESO update is scheduled for Tuesday, March 15th. So save the date. I mentioned these will be held every third Tuesday of the month at 10, right here virtually. And I do encourage you to submit to me any further suggestions you have of programs or resources that you would like to learn or hear more about, either for your startup or on behalf of your startup clients. Please let me know what is of interest. And of course, you can find any further information at kyinnovation.com. So that ends us, and I appreciate everybody attending today and hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks so much. Bye.